I think we had one of the most interesting sort of announcement made. Aadhaar authentication is now made available to the entire ecosystem now on a general basis, which was not available earlier. I think this changes everything. I know that many of you will have more questions. We'll have UIDI later in the day to take a session. But let's move on to, I think, India changed largely because of two large things. One, obviously, is Aadhaar. And second, obviously, is UPI. And the transition has been amazingly sort of shocking. We go across the world and we talk about these two things at scale. And now this call is DPI. With every now and then we hear in a different realm. So I think Dilip, I wanted to hear, and thank you for joining, Dilip, here. Thank you, thank you. So Dilip, I wanted to hear from you. What's your vision for digital payments in India? And potentially you can also talk about how it will happen worldwide as well, given your vantage position.
So I cannot say how it will happen worldwide. Of course, the world has to decide, which way they would like to go. But I think the asset-light, context-driven digital payments will create an infra layer for all the financial services, and that has happened in India, and I think it will happen worldwide as well. Of course, the worldwide the card payments have been prevalent, and variety of different mechanism to use the card variants to drive the context, whether it's a corporate cards, commercial cards, credit cards, debit cards. I think with the digital layer can actually revolutionize the way the payments are envisaged by the Western world also, and can be made more accessible, more democratization is possible, of course, but that's a country's call. As far as India is concerned, we keep talking about it. NPCI started the vision of billion a day in 2018, and I think now it's a billion, 100 billion a month is what we keep talking about. So I think we have just started, and and I was listening to Aadhaar and DDG, and I think the Aadhaar gave us the confidence that India can build solutions at scale, and also at a very affordable price, very accessible, a very inclusive manner. The JAM Trinity played a very, very important role in building the infra layer, what we are now leveraging, and UPI has actually been beneficiary of this JAM Trinity. And now I think the way we are seeing with the 450 million users, the UPI is becoming an infra layer for the financial services.
Thank you, thank you. And in terms of the economic impact, I think we see a lot of frameworks changing in the India, and maybe SME credit or even from a retail credit. So from your perspective, how does it impact the payment infra at the country level, and also maybe a view on the credit as well, along the journey?
So I think the once the payment, everybody is onboarded onto the digital payments, I think any services company has two major problems. One is the onboarding the user, and second is how do you collect the charges from the user, right? I think the Aadhaar has solved the onboarding problem, and UPI has solved the collections problem. So I think it kind of creates a layer which kind of the competing becomes easier, and naturally when the competing becomes easier, the end beneficiary is the citizen of the country, in terms of he starts getting the best of the best services at the lowest cost in that sense, because the entry barrier starts collapsing to start any type of services business. Goes without saying that it also benefits the economy in terms of whether it's an increasing speed of money, the formalization of the economy, increase in collection of taxes, variety of different advantages which we have. The third is it also benefits the citizens and the merchants, which is the SME community SME or MSME community, or the micro merchants in that sense. Because today, most of the community has been pre-UPI era, has been dependent on cash, right? And I think the post-UPI and the demon and the COVID has been accelerated on the UPI growth, and now they are able to collect majority of them on the UPI. So I think it's just like looking at creating a completely self-reliant system which will kind of drive the growth. And of course, you know, once the data gets generated, the credit, investments, insurance, variety of things will pan out. Of course, goes without saying that the credit, because you keep talking about credit, and all of us keep talking about credit. Credit is a very responsible business, and of course, it's a cycle-led. There are many economic factor impacts the credit growth. So I think it has to be a responsible credit growth is now possible with the advent of this whole data, digital credit. You know, the lenders may look at, you know, changing their system to deal with the step-up credit right now, because earlier the step-up was not possible, but with UPI credit line, digital credit cards, the step-up is possible now. So you can start very low, and depending upon the pattern, you reach to the level, desired level.
I think you spoke about UPI on credit. Maybe you want to talk about bit about how UPI on credit and UPI on credit card, how is it playing in the market? And because I myself have started using it heavily, right? So I just want to get a feedback that this area has been sort of unused, and the way it has come up has been heavy. So any quick view on that?
See, our objective of looking at credit has been, and we started this journey since 2017-18, right? We started first with the OD. The overdraft account can be attached by RBI permitted overdraft account to be attached to UPI. Today, you know, the using the credit on a mobile app has been very easy. And you know, if you look at similarly the Bharat QR, which was the initiative launched by RuPay, Visa and MasterCard with the approval of RBI in 2017-18 itself. In fact, much earlier, 2017 itself. And you know, if you look at it, you know, even then you could attach a credit card and actually scan a QR code and make a payment since 2018 onwards. So I think the digitization of the credit product in a full end-to-end life cycle manner is inevitable, right? It is going to happen. It has been planned for last 7-8 years in that sense. Now, when you look at UPI's initiative on credit side, you know, while the OD was permitted in 2018, then we launched the credit card, then the credit line, and variety of products have been really planned on this journey. And I think the objective is market expansion. Objective is if these products can service every Indian, right? That's a objective, and because it's a digital first, it's a fully connected, it's real time, and as I said before, if the lenders can change the system to look at a you know, zero cost collection, step up credit, context driven credit decision making, I think those kind of EMI. By just scanning the QR code, I think that kind of drive the growth in a big way. Also, whether it's expansion or the use case growth, both.
And I think we are trying to follow all the changes during GFF you're making, and many of them are sort of different areas. A lot is on global side. You want to quickly give a quick view on what are the things which are happening on the global side? And I will be honest, I read through and I couldn't comprehend. There's so many changes happening. There's so much of good stuff happening. So a quick view will help.
So our subsidiary NPCI International works on the global initiatives of all the NPCI group in that sense, and we see that about 4 or 5 countries are implementing the payment stack which has been built by NPCI and the ecosystem in their country. So I think that's one area where there is a rapid expansion, and we see that there is a large interest from some of the global south countries to kind of leapfrog the way India has done in last 10 years time. The second is, you know, the cross-border transactions. Also, we are seeing a good traction. We went live with the 4 neighboring countries, about 4 or 5 markets in the Singapore, where the large outbound travel from India, and I think there is a large you know, effort which has been pushed by NIPL to kind of reach out with the support of RBI and the government, Ministry of External Affairs, to kind of see whether, if the way India is self-sufficient on the domestic payment, is there a possibility in next 15, 20 years time, at least the top 30 markets, whether it's a diaspora, whether it's a outbound travel, or whether it's a strategic trade or business partner, whether there is a possibility to kind of make the cross-border transaction real-time and very efficient the way the domestic transactions are today. So I think it's a long journey, but I think the fairly good excitement in talking to a lot of countries and kind of seeing that whether they would like to partner with India in that sense.
That's good. So we spoke about credit, we spoke about international. Any other initiative which you would want to share on UPI side, because it is, I mean, we were talking about 10x and it keeps growing, right? So what is the thought process on growth from here for next few years, and what would be the areas of focus? And of course, what the participant here should focus on to build along?
So, Samir, I think I want to just talk about the topic of the discussion, which is the trust in the payment system. I think the payment system is as good as trust, right? I think, and for the trust, and there are many actions which are required, because I think if the country has a 1.4 billion population, the smartphone penetration is increasing. Under the PMJDY, every family has a bank account. Naturally, today or tomorrow, everybody would be part of this digital bandwagon as per the citizens' comfort with the payment system. Now the question is how the comfort comes naturally, right? The trust on the payment system comes naturally. And I think that's where a lot of work is required, and RBI or government has been putting a lot of efforts, NPCI, banks putting a lot of efforts. And I think there are three areas which I believe are paramount to create a trust in the payment system. The first one is, while you would look at, about 450 million people are actually used some shape and form digital payments. When you look at now the next 200 million or 250 million people who have the smartphone, another 300 million people who have the feature phone, and all of them have the bank account. So about 400, 500 million people, if you want to bring them back to digital payments, there is a different level of efforts required. This population is going to be more vulnerable in terms of education awareness. So I think massive efforts are required. There are many things which we have been doing in terms of, whether it's we just recently launched this the campaign featured by Pankaj Tripathi, Main Moorkh Nahi Hu, and not to fall prey on the investment scams, the insurance, the fake, the digital arrest scams. A variety of MOs we tried to cover under that. RBI has RBI Kehta Hai. I'm saying that a lot of efforts are required in education and awareness. The second thing is the use of tech. I think the use of tech can actually identify the early trends in terms of future risk, potential risk, which are going to come back to the financial system or any digital system for that matter, because nothing can bring only good, right? Once you become digital, the chances of the cyber risk, the fraud risk are very high. So how do you use technology? How do you continuously remain vigilant and make over and above investments which are required to ensure that the trust in the payment system is protected? So I think the RBI, the CSIT, and the government, certain NCI, PC, a variety of institutions are now working with the ecosystem and NPCI to ensure that how do we keep strengthening the ecosystem in terms of who are able to deal with the cyber risk or a fraud risk using the technology use case, using AI or any other technology mechanism. And the third, last but not the least, the legal system also must be evolved to ensure that these activities are penalized at the appropriate level. The financial crime, the participation in the fraud, giving your account for the mule account. And I think a lot of work is being done. Finance Ministry is coordinating with MHA on these aspects. And I think we require a strong legal framework which will act as a deterrent to these activities. So I think if we are looking at a 10x growth, I think fundamentally solving the consumer education and awareness, we see 95% frauds are consumer-initiated frauds. They are investment-related frauds. So there is no. I think it's important to make the citizens aware about these at a large scale. Second is use of technology to deal with the cyber and fraud risk. And third is working with the legal law enforcement agencies and the legal system to ensure that there is a strong deterrent which is created to ensure that people are not falling prey to give up their accounts or participating in these financial crimes.
This is great. Maybe if there are questions from the group here, maybe you can be ready. This is my last question. Maybe we'll take one question more, and then we'll close. So maybe if you can plan this, Madhur, please. So I think today most of the people, and I've seen more people who do not carry wallets at all, and therefore the trust on the UPI is that high. Now, going forward, the impact of any outage can be very, very high. So what are the initiatives taken to bring resiliency in the whole structure at all levels so that the availability is full time? Because I think technically if it stops, I think many things will stop for any moments. Just a point, because it has been great, but I just want to get a view which you are taking to improve it further.
Is there a wood close by? Touch wood. What you said has not happened, but again, I think it's a good question, and we at NPCI are very mindful about the fact that we are a systemically important payment system as declared by the Reserve Bank of India. Today, I think the resiliency and scalability of the payment system is a core issue, and you would have seen even our former Governor Das have spoken about it almost like every 3 months. I used to read that, he used to talk about the banks, NPCI and the ecosystem should not shy away to create investments into the technology to ensure that the scale is well processed and the citizen of the country is given the best of the service. And Samir, if you look at it, our RBI monitors NPCI and the bank's performance. The government also monitors the performance of the overall payment system, and there is a digital dashboard which is published by METI and DFS now. So if you look at it that way, there is a high attention by the regulators and the government to ensure that the ecosystem is not cutting the corners as far as the investments on the payment system scalability and resilience. Today, RBI, when we looked at and while you look at all NPCI systems are operated in the similar principle, but of course the UPI being the largest is the focus of attention by everybody. And today, if you look at it, we operate out of 3 data centers in a active manners. RBI has asked us to open up another 4th data center. So I think the 4 data centers in an active mode, I think it's a fairly good architecture, and I feel fairly confident about it. In a month also we process about 10 days, 15 days from one data center only, right? Just to ensure that even if there are data center outages, we will be able to deal with it. Of course, it goes without saying that resiliency is not a one-time thing. It's a matter of continuous progress, continuous investment by us, by the ecosystem. But you could look at it. I think the ecosystem has invested into UPI, and today the technical declines which we publish on NPCI website are best in the world at this scale. So you can, and I must compliment the whole UPI ecosystem led by the banks that they have not let the citizens down. If the citizen wants to use the digital payment, the digital payments is available back to the citizen at the best possible failure rates.
Brilliant. Just one question, if anybody has anything. Yeah.
Hello, sir. This is Saurabh Singh Tovar from ICICI Lombard. I have just one question. With zero MDR, how you think that UPI will be long-term sustainable for fintechs and banks? And secondly, with CBDC, RBI introducing CBDC, how do you see the challenge or how would it complement the UPI payment system?
So again, the zero MDR, I fully agree with your point that, there has to be economic incentive for the ecosystem to invest and grow. Today, UPI, in fact, while UPI must be processing 17 billion transactions a month, I think as a country, we have a potential to process 100 to 150 billion transactions. So how do we grow now? If we want to bring in the 300, 400 million people who are not really digital savvy onto the digital platform, there has to be some incentivization. The way when UPI started, there were players giving scratch cards, some incentives, some cashbacks. I think some of the practices will be required to expand the new segment, what we want them on UPI. Similarly, on the merchant side, goes without saying. So again, I think NPCI, the ecosystem, the industry forums have been working with the regulator and the government to see that, how do we really create some reasonable economic incentives for the market to expand further. Also, we spoke about some of the cyber risk, resiliency risk. So I think the investments in technology, investments in consumer education and awareness is a continuous process, and the whole ecosystem needs investment. I believe that, we should see some progress on that front. I don't know when exactly, but again, we are in constant touch with the policymakers to kind of review the situation. The second question you asked is CBDC. I think RBI's principle is to have a multiple consumer choice, whether it's a cards, whether it's wallet, whether it's UPI, which is the bank account. I think the CBDC can create one more good option. Of course, it's a long-term play. So I don't personally think that it's going to compete in that sense. It will collaborate only. CBDC as a technology can do a lot more things which UPI cannot do today. So for example, programmable payments. The smart contracts can add a lot of business conditions enabled payments, which UPI cannot do technically, or it's very, very complicated for UPI to do. So I believe that, CBDC is a great move by RBI. It is going to be long-term play. So if we are going to expect that CBDC will try to process a lot of volumes in a short term, it is unrealistic because the API ecosystem is the cheapest and the fastest in that sense. And the blockchain technology, the distributed technology may take time to get to that level. But I think the use cases, what it can implement, will be very difficult for UPI to implement. So I think it's going to complement in that sense.
I think with this we close. I know you have a very short thing. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.